That is such a nice story. Thanks, Jim. Well, whether you're buying or selling a home, it's important that you do your homework so you can avoid a lot of those extra costs that may be hidden somewhere in the price. Well, this morning, we're helping you do your homework along with my guest, Rob Adatto. Always 1% Realty is the name of this business. Welcome to Fox in the Morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, when we talk about hidden costs when we're buying and selling homes, what are we talking about?
Well, they really break down into two areas. The first area is the cost to simply do the transaction. The brokerage fees are typically 5 to 6% of the value of the transaction. While the prices of the houses have ratcheted upwards over the last generation or so, the amount of work that the brokers are doing in order to get the houses sold and purchased is actually less because of all of the technology and all of the database management involved.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about that. A lot of us get to go on the internet and look at what we're going to purchase before we even go out there to see where it is and what it looks like in person. So it's kind of like you've already have an idea of what you're looking at and if you even want to go check it out in person, right? Is that part of the deal?
Exactly. Yeah, more than 70% of the people that are buying homes actually check them out online first, doing much of the broker's job. Yet the brokerage fees have remained static over the last generation. They're earning more money for less work than ever before.
Okay, but what do you do about that then?
Well, I think the appropriate thing to do is to analyze how much work goes into the transaction and charge for the amount of effort that goes into it.
Is it appropriate then to haggle with this person when you're about to make the transaction?
Well, everything in real estate is negotiable. But I think the appropriate fix for a situation like this is to look at the direction of the industry, and that's where my company comes in, is we're choosing a different direction. We're offering the same services, but at a drastically discounted rate in recognition that there simply is less work and more technology available to level the playing field for the consumer.
Okay, any other hidden fees that you need to worry about?
Well, once you're into the transaction, most people can't pay cash for the real estate. They have to finance it. And in the financing industry, there are tremendous amounts of confusion built in. In many instances, people are paying fees for loan brokerage services that they don't need, and they're paying repetitive fees. The broker that they buy the house from is getting a fee for the financing, and the lender is getting also a fee for the financing. By the time you add up all of the fees that people are paying on their financing, it usually adds up to more than 3 or 4% of the amount being financed.
I think a lot of people just think because I'm buying a house, these are just those red tape fees. I've got to pay them, and they don't even think twice about it. So if you are doing your homework ahead of time and you want to do something about this, how do you go about making sure you're not paying all this extra money?
Well, I think there's two ways. Number one, you could simply research a variety of lenders and brokers and ask them what they're charging and ask all of the fees involved and ask to see them in writing prior to the transaction. The problem with that model is that people are already into a transaction by the time they find out about the fees. They haven't done their homework. So the fix that we're using is to simply state the fee that we're going to charge and never under any conditions charge more than a set 1% fee. And the consumer can know that everything we do from that point forward is actually in their best interest rather than in our own best interest.
So there's a lot of homework involved when purchasing a home. Why don't we give folks some tips for, especially if you're going to sell your home? It seems, I know on my block right now there are about 7 homes for sale, and they've been for sale for a long time. So what are some tips to try and get that house moved a little quicker?
Well, the sellers really have to do several things in order to make sure that things go well. The first is to make sure that the home looks its best. It has to show well. There's a lot of competition, and people can buy any home that they choose. In order to buy the particular one that you're interested in selling, it has to look the best. The next thing they can do is to make absolutely sure that it's priced fairly. The market is not ratcheting upwards as it was in months and years past, and in order to sell, it really has to be priced competitively. So a seasoned, careful look at the direction of the prices is critical. And then the final thing is that they should make sure that all of the aspects of the transaction are being handled smoothly, that people are being responded to well, and making sure that that there's feedback.
Okay, and then of course there's tips. We have tips for buyers as well, because you are out and really you have many choices out there. So what are some tips for them?
Well, the most important thing for the buyer is to shop carefully, just like in any other purchase. Once narrowing down the range of homes that a buyer might be interested in, The next most important thing is to really take care of the financial issues. Make sure that the buyer is qualified to buy the kind of house, the amount of house that they want to buy. Make sure that the credit house is in order so that the transaction will go smoothly, thereby putting forward the strongest offer to that seller and hopefully closing the transaction with the least amount of angst possible.
Absolutely. All right. It seems we always get big eyes during that time, don't we?
I should hope so.
When we're trying to buy a house. Well, those are great tips, and we're going to put all this information on our website at fox6.com. And if you'd like more information or you'd like to get a hold of Rob, you can always contact Always 1% Realty by going to our website. We'll hook you up to them. Thanks, Rob, for coming in this morning.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.